Galata Sohbetleri ile karşınızdayız. Yüzyıllardır ticaretin ve kültürün merkezi olan bu kadim mekandan bugünün iş dünyasına ışık tutmaya devam ediyoruz. İlham verici konuklar ve konularla birlikte. Türkiye'nin dünyaya açılan bu noktasında bugün de dünyaya dair, küresel gelişmelere dair çok güzel bir sohbet yapacağız. PwC Türkiye ülke Kıdemli Ortağı Sayın Cenk, Cenk Bey hoş geldiniz.
Siz de hoş geldiniz.
Hoş bulduk. Ve PwC Küresel Başkanı Mr. Mohamed Kande. Mr. Kande, welcome to Galata Talks.
Thank you for having me.
It's indeed a great pleasure to have you here, and I hope that you're enjoying this beautiful spot of Istanbul where continents and civilizations meet.
Absolutely.
So I would like to start with you. You assumed the role of Global Chairman of PwC approximately 6 months ago, and we all know that these are not ordinary times. There are some global transformations, some fundamental shifts going on in the world and also in business landscape. So digital transformation, climate transition, evolving stakeholder expectations, these mega trends are all compelling organizations to rethink how they create, capture, and deliver value for their clients especially. So based on your experience over the past 6 months, what are the key things, reflecting on your observations, what are the emerging trends, maybe some challenges and opportunities that you see are on the agenda of global business leaders?
First of all, it's great to be here today, right in Istanbul, and a beautiful city, as you know. And as you mentioned, I was appointed a few months ago as a new global chairman of PwC, and I spent the last few months basically listening, traveling and listening to our clients, listening to our people, and listening to some of our stakeholders, like regulators around the world. And you mentioned the megatrends. It is very interesting to see some of the things or critical issues that are in the minds of executives. And this is something that is consistent around the world. The first one is technology transformation, digital transformation, especially artificial intelligence. What will be the implications in the future? The second one is around geopolitical issues. What's going to happen around the world with all of the geopolitical tension that we are facing today? The third one is around social instability also. Demographic shift also becoming very important. But one problem that is becoming even more and more, I would say, important is around climate change or climate transition. And really the findings that we have today is the fact that all of these megatrends are accelerating and they're also colliding. They're becoming the same because, for example, technology becoming a very big consumer of energy, contributing to some of the issues that we have around climate transition. So we have a lot of what we're seeing today is uncertainty. Uncertainty is the key theme that we are finding today because many corporations today around the world do not know what the future is going to look like. Change is coming. And now many of the companies are now thinking about how do they adapt to the change, but also how do they reinvent themselves in the future to ensure that they can stay very productive, not only for society, but also for the people. And for us, this reinforces our culture, but also our purpose. Solving important problems, building trust with companies. And we're now seeing that what PwC stands for today is going to be we believe, very helpful to many of the corporations that we advise in the world.
So that 6 months really showed you that how uncertain the world has become and what the companies should be doing. But obviously there is some background into that, and I would like to go a bit personal if you allow me, because I think that your personal story is also truly inspiring for especially most of the young professionals and students alike. And looking at your background, I have noticed that education played an important role in who you have become today as the global chairman of one of the biggest professional services firms in the world. So how would you describe the importance of education, both in your personal role, but also across the globe and societies?
As you say, this is a personal question. Without education, I wouldn't be here with you today. I wouldn't. Because I was born and raised in West Africa and moved to France to go to college to become an engineer, electrical engineer. Moved to Canada to get a master's in engineering, and also get my MBA in the US. Education is what gave me the permission the permission to get in the room, the permission for me to be able to engage at the global stage. And without education, as I say, I wouldn't be here today. But education gave me something that is more intangible. Curiosity and the desire to learn. Having that learning behavior all the time. Because the more you learn, the more you can solve bigger problems, and the more opportunities will be presented to ourselves. So for me, education was a means to an end. And I'm here today because I did spend a lot of time.
And would you say that curiosity and learning as one of the competences that people should have in order to deal with the uncertainty that we're seeing in the world?
Absolutely. And I will even say that learning needs to become a management process, I would say, for many organizations today. Because the more things change around them, the faster they change, the faster they need to learn. How can we solve problems that we don't understand? And how do we understand things without learning about them? One of the things that we are really recommending to many organizations around the world is that to create that learning culture. It is critical in a time of uncertainty to see that the competitive advantage of many organizations can actually become the ability to learn fast.
Sure. Thank you. So, Mr. Ulu, Mr. Kande said that learning and curiosity should become a part of the management process, and the continuous learning for management is really important. So how would you describe the importance of education, not only at the individual level, but at the organizational level? And how does PwC prioritize education as a part of its work to ensure that communities make progress?
I think education is the key. So as PwC, we are recruiting around 500 people every year from different universities, because we have more than 200 universities in Turkey with a very young population. So what we do is, whenever we recruit our new employees, we also educate them in around 40 to 45 days a year. Because what we do is mainly trust and solve important problems. So what we need to do is that we need to make them ready for this kind of problems. So from our perspective as organization, learning and education is key for us. But what we also try to do is give back to the society. So many of our partners, including myself, I'm giving lectures in 2 different universities. So what we need to do as organizations is to support Turkish education system, especially to universities, and share our experience that we get from our clients, from our network. Especially, we are a learning organization, and we are really getting feedback from our clients, from our networks. So we try our best to share it with universities and with NGOs. So as I said, many of our partners are taking role in the universities.
Mm-hmm. And I know that you have a special interest, obviously, in technological change. And as Mr. Kande pointed out, the digital transformation and AI is impacting every part of the society, including, obviously, the education processes. And I assume that both students and educators will be learning more about digital transformation and education more in the future. So how would you describe the importance of digital transformation in education, and how would help us to increase innovation?
As PwC, we are making surveys on several different items. One of them is hopes and fears. And we try to understand how the society, how the organizations are looking at AI. So what we see is many of the job requests, the companies are asking for AI knowledge. They were asking for RPA, DNA, ERP, CRM knowledge previously, but now AI is becoming more and more important. So what we are trying to do is we are trying to put AI to life. So as PwC, we created an AI lab. And I think the one we have is the third in Europe. So we are trying to put up our society, not only our clients, but also universities, NGOs, and try to explain the use cases that is used in AI. So we have a very good library as PwC. So in our second floor, in our AI lab, we are trying to put AI to real life. Not only for, by the way, clients, for universities, for NGOs, try to explain people that AI should be used in their daily life. Because if we cannot get involved in AI as business society as soon as possible, we will lose our competitiveness.
Sure. And it's really important to use this kind of capabilities and technological competencies for the purpose of societal progress. And here I would like to turn to you again, Mr. Kande. Last year, a tragic event happened in Turkey in February last year. And as you know, the earthquake that took place in Turkey led to very tragic consequences. And I know that PwC made significant contribution to the affected areas, especially for rebuilding of some of the schools and helping the communities there to get back on track in terms of education. And as a Turkish citizen, I'm grateful for your contribution, for your support. I would like to ask you what motivated this decision to contribute to that area, and how do you feel about it?
You know, first of all, this is our purpose. This is what we stand for. We see something happening, we have to help. This is who we are at PwC, and Cenk led these efforts just to make sure that we from PwC could contribute to society, because this is what we do. We have to help, we have to contribute to society. And when we got involved last year, the first thing we did was to get involved to ensure that sustainable support was first given to the population, especially to the kids, so they can be safe, so they can have shelter, so they can have food. Then we moved on to think about education. We talked about it. Education is critical. Education is what will take populations or communities out of poverty. That's how you have sustainable development. That's how you have equity. That is why we from PwC focus on education, because we know it is critical for these kids. If we give them an education, we give them a path, we give them a key for them to aspire to a better future. That is why we spend so much time in education. And PwC would always continue to be involved and to help.
And based on your personal journey as well, I assume that this contribution and this help to those kids especially meant a lot to you.
Yeah, it means a lot to me, knowing that I personally come from the global south, and I know I've seen tragedies around the world many times. And that is why, you know, for many of us at PwC, as Cenk was mentioning, it is personal what we do. When we get involved into society, we do it because we are PwC, but we do it because it's personal, because that's a culture that we have, a culture of caring.
And Mr. Ulu, you also played an important role in that decision and also to the efforts and contributions that PwC made to the earthquake-affected areas. How would you describe that process, and what kind of role do you think those efforts play in terms of building a more resilient society that looks to a brighter future and long-term prosperity?
I mean, as Mr. Kande said, our purpose is to build trust in society and solve important problems. And I was telling our staff that was our purpose. But when the earthquake happened, I asked the network, and with a great support of the network, we were able to build up 2 schools. Now it's very easy for me to tell our purpose to our stakeholders, because that's what we do. And really, that is really tangible. And I mean, the earthquake area is affected very bad, but the kids even worse. So what we can give to the kids is hope. So this hope is with education, because as Mr. Kande said, it's a key. So I think we put our purpose into real life first. And second, we decided to support the society in the schools on an ongoing basis.
I'm sure that will give a lot of hope and a lot of long-term perspective to most of the children who live in this country. And Mr. Kande, in terms of your global network, you said that you have a purpose, and you are trying to deliver this purpose by working on projects that create societal impact. So PwC, as being one of the biggest global professional services firms, how do you leverage your global network to create long-term and inclusive society?
You know, we created in 2018 a global office of humanitarian affairs to coordinate globally our initiatives to ensure that we contribute to society and that we help in situation of crisis or duress or tragedy, where PwC has the ability to having a coordinated approach to respond. And we leverage the rest of the network. As Mr. Ulu said, we actually make sure that the people that are getting involved are not always necessarily from the regions where the tragedy might be happening. But when you think about what PwC is trying to leave as a societal impact, the first one is digital skills for the future. We talked about technology transformation. We truly believe that the digital skills are going to be critical for the future because, especially in the age of artificial intelligence, I truly believe that AI, especially generative AI, would democratize access to knowledge. So whoever has the right skills can have access to more opportunities globally. That's the first thing that we want to do. How do we ensure that we can support this? And we have PwC is actually involved into a program with UNICEF called Generation Unlimited, which is all around the upskilling of millions and millions of kids to prepare them actually to join the workforce, and it's digital upskilling. The second thing is also to help building resilience to the effect of climate change, because a lot of the tragedies that are happening, a lot of the displacement that we see today are due to the consequences of climate change. So for us, that's the second area where we are very involved in. And the last one was equality, inclusivity, to ensure that independent of where people are in the world, everybody gets a shot.
Thank you. And lastly, what would be your recommendations for young professionals and students who would like to build a professional career and a good life for themselves in this, as you described very well, in this uncertain world? And what are the key competencies and skills they should be gaining to have a better career?
That's a great question. Again, on the theme of learning, get the education. Learn not only about the diploma, the degree, or the education, but learn also about the environments. Learn about the different cultures, learn about people. And always keep trying. And for everybody that are listening today, for the young kids and young upcoming young professionals, my last comment would be, don't let anybody tell you that you cannot.
Mr. Kande, thank you very much. Thank you for being here and thank you for sharing your honest thoughts with all the audience. Cenk Bey, çok teşekkür ederim.
Ben de çok teşekkür ederim.
Efendim, Galata Sohbetlerinde bugün PwC Küresel Başkanı Mohamed Kande ve PwC Türkiye ülke Kıdemli Ortağı Sayın Cenk Ulu'yu ağırladık. Hem bazı kişisel hikayelerden, ilham verici örneklerden, şirketlerin ve küresel organizasyonların toplumların daha iyiye gitmesi için, bireylerin daha iyiye gitmesi için neler yapabileceklerini konuştuk. Galata Sohbetlerinin bir sonraki programında yine karşınızda olacağız.